Welcome back to STL Live. I'm Sarah Bernard, and my guest is Pat Cook, who's a registered nurse with Medi Nurse, and we've been talking about the flu epidemic that is in 49 states. It is definitely throughout St. Louis. There's been schools closed before Christmas, I think, is really where it was the worst. Is that correct?
Yeah. Actually,
schools.
I think the break at Christmas for at least school kids helped.
Yeah, because it got all those kids away from each other. They're bringing those germs in. So what are some things we can do? We talked in the last segment about hydration, good nutrition, probably get enough sleep, because that if you don't sleep enough, you're going to lessen your immune system, your protectiveness. Okay, what else? We were talking in the break about crowds. How do you manage that when you have to get out and about?
Well, I think hand washing is an important part of crowd behavior. If you're touching doorknobs, if you're helping yourself up on the bus by, holding on to that little rail that's in front of you, those kinds of things. If you can avoid being in those public areas, if you can avoid any kind of enclosed travel, airline travel, train travel, any of that, where people may be sneezing, coughing, wiping their nose with the back of their hand, all those good things.
Right.
If you can avoid that, that would be better. But if you can't, again, good hand washing, and we talk about that at the beginning of flu season.
So let's get specific about hand washing, because how often, how long, what do you do about all the dry skin that results?
Sure.
What do you recommend?
Well, hand washing, and I think this is something now they're teaching even in the grade schools. You sing 2 choruses of Happy Birthday and use soap, not just stick your hands under the water. So a very effective rubbing and while you're singing to yourself.
That's long. 2 choruses of Happy Birthday.
Yeah, it is kind of long, and I think that's one of the hard things, because we all tend to whatever.
Yeah.
The antiseptic, the little bottles, squirt bottles, I think are good, but they're also drying. They're alcohol.
Right.
And you should really wash that off. You don't want to just continue to layer more of that on. So they say, every 6 or 7 times you use that, then you go wash your hands. Start over.
So during the course of a day, every time you have to touch a doorknob, touch phones, light switches, all those things. Just
elevator buttons.
Yeah.
And if you can, I don't have sleeves long enough, but if you can even pull your hand up to push an elevator button.
Okay, protect your hand, your fingers.
You're keeping your hand from hitting that button that 20 people who blew their nose before, we talk about such lovely topics, but who blew their nose before they touched that elevator button.
And what about your kids, keeping kids home from school?
I think if they're at all sick, if they at all have, a snotty nose or really bad cough, I'd keep them home for a couple days. Also, if they have any temperature at all, that's again one of those indicators to get them to the doctor, or at least call the doctor and ask, what's the best next step? Because what you don't want to happen is that they do get the flu, and then that flu goes to bronchitis or pneumonia.
Right. I've seen more of that this year among my friends.
Yeah. One of the articles that I was reading, and they've been in almost every publication in the last few days, St. Louis article said there have been 20 deaths in kids.
In St. Louis? From the flu?
Our flu, started with the flu and flu related.
Right. Okay, one final question. We talked about hydration.
Yes.
Why is that important?
Break down your immune system. You just become, I think, more fragile. Maybe that's a good way to say it. So you want to...
If you're dehydrated?
Yeah.
Okay.
If you're dehydrated.
So it's not about flushing out toxins or anything like that?
Well, it helps. It certainly does help keep your system flowing, but I think more that, your immune system is fragile to begin with this time of year with all the indoor heat, the cycling. You ask about dry skin, again, lotions, and there are some of those pump bottles that actually they'll say moisturizing hand sanitizers. Those may be a little better.
Okay.
And again, I think I may have told you this last time we talked about flu. Those sanitizers have an expiration date. If I have to have a mission in my life, it is to make sure people know that. You can't take last year's sanitizer if it expired and continue to think you're getting protection.
Oh, I didn't know that. So do they have a date on the bottle?
They do have a date on, usually on the bottom, so check your dates.
All right, very good. All right, Pat, thank you so much for coming. And next time, bring some good news for us. So if you're interested in learning more about Medi Nurse or, of course, symptoms for the flu, visit MediNurse.com to learn everything that they do. There's more STL Live after this. Please stay with us.